is their Cordoba creator of the Leicester equaliser. El Khanous, how much room does he have here? El Khanous going for goal, and he finds it as well. What a turnaround here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
4 minutes, Leicester have soaked up so much pressure. Fatawi jinking feet to get beyond his man, and the header from Jamie Vardy makes it 2.
Wood should score. Wood Knockout. Yes! Yes! And Knockout has done it.
Tielemans lining one up. What a goal! What a brilliant goal by Yuri Tielemans! And the Leicester City fans go absolutely potty.
Ball in behind Damian Vardy. It's 11. It's heaven for Jamie Vardy. Hold the back page. Hold the front page. A Leicester player has smashed the record.
Good morning and welcome back to Blue Tinted Glasses. It's Sunday morning, which means, of course, it's time for Good Morning Foxes. And it is the day that we say goodbye to the GOAT. Before we get into it all, Kate, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah, I'm all right. I think it should be called Sad Morning Foxes this morning. I'm feeling quite somber today. I don't know about you guys, but yeah. I'm looking forward to today. I think it'll be a good atmosphere and stuff, but I'm also, I don't want it to end. I don't want the chapter to close just yet.
Yeah, 100%. Manny will be joining us shortly. He's having some technical issues. Tom, how are you doing this morning, mate?
I don't buy shirts because that's not me, but I had to get it.
Me too. I did it as well.
I had to get it. It's the end of, it's an end of an era. Vardy is leaving us, and you were crying, not me, as I'm going to say all day today, because there's going to be a few tears to shed. It's an emotional day. I don't think we ever thought it would end. He's Benjamin Button who'd just keep going, and we'd see him many more years to come. But it's a day of celebration, mate. Doesn't matter about the season today. It is Jamie Vardy's day, and that's what it's all about. Whatever the result today, it's all about Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Let's see what some of the comments are saying, first of all, before we get into it. Greg says, good morning. Vardy's last dance today should be a roller coaster of emotions. Danny, smash a like and subscribe. Yeah, please do that, guys. Kunal says, morning, guys. Let's hope Vardy gets 200 goals. Tony Smith, good luck, Jamie. Fantastic. 10 years, Mr. Irreplaceable. 13 years, Tony. Sorry to correct you, mate. 13 years.
That's nice.
Yeah, 100%. 500th game, sat on 199 on the day he signed for us all those years ago. Wow. Dara, morning, everybody. What a gent, Tom. Tripod Onion says loads of onions getting cut today. And TS91 says never thought this day would come. Let's get Manny in. I think he's ready. Here he is. What's going on, mate?
Morning. Sorry,
morning.
Camera issues.
No, it's all good, mate. No, we were just saying, Manny, the obvious. It's the day we say goodbye to Jamie Vardy, mate. How are you feeling about that?
I've got hay fever really bad this morning. That's why I got the tears in my eyes, honest. It's a really sad day, isn't it? We all hope, don't we, that he gets to 200. It would just be so much symmetry in the numbers. 200, 13 years, 500 appearances. Final game. Now that you just asked me the question, I'm feeling pretty sad, actually. I was feeling all right until then.
Yeah, I mean, how many Sundays this season have we been sat here and we've been saying, well, it's bad morning Foxes because we've lost, we've been battered by Everton or Wolves. But today is actually probably the worst day of the season because we know it's the last time that we will see Vardy in a Leicester shirt. All right, let me come to you first, Kate, because it's something that we've spoken about over the last couple of weeks. Well, over the last few days especially, but I want to get your thoughts on it. What do you make to him signing off today? Because, of course, we have another game to play after today. We have Bournemouth next weekend away in the last game of the season. But clearly he's made, from what we've heard from certain people as well this week, that he wants to sign it off at the King Power because, it just wouldn't be the same doing it away at Bournemouth. He wants to do it in front of the 30,000 Leicester fans.
Yeah, I feel a bit mixed about it. I totally understand why he wants to do that. And I think I've said numerous times when we've said, is Vardy too old, or is it time for Vardy to go? I've always said it's up to Jamie Vardy when Jamie Vardy decides he wants to leave Leicester. So he's obviously taken that literally, and he's decided that today's enough and rounding it out on 500. I'm disappointed he's not going to be at Bournemouth. I'm going to Bournemouth. I've got my Vardy mask ready and everything. So I'm disappointed. It's a bit of an odd one, isn't it, really? I think it is a bit of a strange one. But yeah, I mean, he's the GOAT and he decides, and it's not like the game next week matters at all, although one could argue it could, because a place up the Premier League's worth about 3 million quid if we finish above Ipswich. So yeah, I mean, he's done enough, hasn't he? That's his time to go, and yeah, he's ready for it. And I think he got a bad knock last week as well against Forest, like he was holding his hamstring in those last 10 minutes, not sure whether it was cramp or whatever. So yeah, I'm disappointed he's not playing Bournemouth. It's a bit of an odd one, but Jamie Vardy never does things in the orthodox way, does he?
That's it. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Tom, sticking to that about how he's finishing today. Apparently, he's going on holiday, mate. After today, it's not like because he's had his last training session. His last training session in Leicester training where was yesterday. We saw a video of him getting his bumps from all the other players and stuff, which I'm sure that was a very emotional day for him as well. Because that's the last time he was going to train. But, because I've been speculating, Tom, if he gets 199, will he play Bournemouth to try and get 200? But it does seem, that's it. That is it. Literally, full time, it's done.
I think it's his numbers. I think he's just looking at, he signed for the club on the 18th of May. His last game for the club will be on the 18th of May. It's 500 appearances. I just think he likes it to go out on his terms. And I think he wants to go out at King Power. I don't think he wants to do it at little old Bournemouth in that tiny little shed of a ground. There's nothing to him that game. So, look, we do what Vards want to do. It's the Vardy way. And look, 500 appearances. Who would have said that when he signed for us for £1 million? And after that first season, I think everyone was questioning four goals. I think he got in the first season. That actually, is he actually good enough? But we're sitting here now, 13 years later, thanking the man, because don't think no one in our lifetimes will ever see a player commit to a football club like he has for 13 years.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, looking back on the history, Manny, I don't know if anybody here or anybody in the chat saw the sit down he did with Martin Tyler in the week. And we've heard bits of this story in the past, of course, but he said in that interview, Manny, that after his first season, or during his first season where he really struggled, he sat down with Pearson, Shakespeare and Walsh and said, send me back on loan to Fleetwood. I want to go back to Fleetwood. This is too much for me. And they all sat there, mate, and they said, no, it ain't happening. You're not going anywhere. We believe in you. We can turn this around for you. And thank God that we had, three very smart people there in charge, Manny at the time, Pearson, Walsh and Shakespeare, who convinced him to stick around.
They recognised his ability, didn't they? What he could do if he really got his confidence up. And you can imagine it, he's never been a professional footballer. He's probably constantly questioning himself. Am I actually good enough to play at this level? It's fine banging in a lot of goals at Fleetwood, but this is the big leagues. But the credit to Pearson, Shaky and the others that they really stuck faith with him, and Vishai too, that really gave him that belief that he could play in the big league. And it wasn't just unfounded. He had Nugent there ahead of him. When we went up, we signed a Joa for, I think it was a record fee at the time. It was certainly close to that.
23.
And then we signed how many strikers during his tenure still, with Slimani, Musa, Daka, Iheanacho, Cannon, Edward on loan, and he is still the starter. So I think once he just needed that bit of belief, he really felt comfortable in the environment, then it was just lighting fire, wasn't it? It was like a rocket ship just exploding, and then he just kept on going and going and going. It didn't stop till he actually got to the main.
Yeah, Manny, by the way, just check your mic, mate. I think it might be not selected the right one on your settings. But Kate, I mean, I saw something this morning from The Guardian. Apparently Pearson found his mate who ran a fish and chip shop in Sheffield was the one to say to Pearson, "Yeah, you need to look at this guy, Mr. Jamie Vardy," and they went and scouted him, and that's where it all began.
Yeah, if that's the story, that's quite incredible, really. Not only did I watch Martin Tyler last night, I had a Vardy memory lane night last night, and I also watched the 30-minute clip, also on Leicester City YouTube channel, of Vardy's most iconic moments, where he's walking around the pitch, which was brilliant, and also like a quick 5-minute chat with Rob Dorset, and I can't remember which one it is that he says about it, but when he first signed for Leicester. And while he was making the decision who to go to, Pearson actually invited him to his house, which was number 1 credit. He's also a Sheffield Wednesday fan, number 2 credit. And then also when they pulled out this massive folder of data on Jamie Vardy, it went about 4 clubs back before Fleetwood. So it sounds like they've been tracking him for a long time, or picked the figures up for a long time. And Jamie was a bit blown away by the extent of the research that these guys had gone into for little old Jamie in a little old non-league. And his mind, he said, was pretty much made up in that moment, and he signed pretty soon after, and all the other bidders were blown out the water, really.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Tom, we always say there will never be another Jamie Vardy, and like it's true, isn't it? Because just listing a few things, a non-league player who goes on to win the Premier League, the FA Cup, and remember, he was only 25. He was 25, when he signed. Like, it's not like he was picked up at a really young age, but went on to win the Premier League, FA Cup, Golden Boot, played in the Champions League, obviously got to the quarterfinal. The shithousery that he gives us every single match. I mean, you see him, winding up the away fans and blowing the referee's whistle as recent as a couple of weeks ago, and all those funny moments that he's given us. There will genuinely never be a Jamie Vardy ever again.
Well, I think someone put it correctly. It's a non-league player playing in the Premier League. The attitude, the spirit, the way he is on the pitch, that funniness about him, always trying to make something happen if it wasn't happening around him, has to be the centre of attention. Like you say, the shithousery, West Brom fans, I'd be glad to see the back of him, I think. How many times he scored at the Hawthorns and running in front of their crowd, giving it the big one. This type of player doesn't exist anymore. There was talk about a couple of players 2-3 years ago who were coming through Longstaff back at Notts County now, who's now at Mill, but again, he's never progressed. You won't see it. A player to go and play in every single round of the FA Cup, including the Premier League rounds, and win it. Never happen again. He's basically written into folklore. And as you say, the moments he's made throughout the year, it's 11, it's heaven, it's Jamie Vardy, that commentary is iconic to the Premier League. It's up there with Aguero moments. Those are the things that can never be taken away from Jamie Vardy and Leicester City. Even through the bad times, those things will still be remembered.
100%. And of course, somebody, as Greg said, apparently we've got a Netflix documentary on the way. Apparently it's been, it's not apparently, I think it's confirmed. It's been filmed this season. So we'll see, some more insight into maybe the decision and his last few weeks and stuff like that at the KP. Let me ask you this, guys. Where does Vardy rank for you in Premier League strikers? Where is he? Because, of course, it's always difficult, Manny, when you answer this question, because I suppose, do you answer it on legacy? Do you answer it on just pure ability? Do you answer it on the goals that he scored? But let's just take everything into account. Non-biased head, where do you put Vardy in the all-time strikers in the Premier League?
There's so many different ways you can take that question, and many different ways you can look at it. But the way that I would choose to interpret my answer anyway is, for Leicester City, how many of those other great strikers would have worked in our team in the way that we needed him to play in order for us to win those things? How many of those other strikers would have been as effective? I can come up with Thierry Henry, and that is about it. You could push for Anelka, but I don't think Anelka would have done the consistency that Vardy has done. So, as a counter-attack striker, you could argue he's probably the greatest counter-attack striker in the Premier League. So that's the way I'll choose to interpret him. Yes, there have been cuter players, and you could arguably be better. Players like Shearer are outstanding, of course, could do so many things. Aguero, lots of others, Suarez, but he wasn't here for long. Vardy's been here for so many years, but to do it for Leicester when you don't have a lot of the ball, when you're having to, do the shithousery, having to rough people up, having to close people down all the time, your work rate has to be incredibly high. A lot of those other strikers, the team was built around making them score, whereas Vardy was just sort of doing us a bit of a favour up top, leading the line by himself. You're not seeing a lot of possession, not seeing a lot of touches, but having to be on it for when that one moment arrives. Here's your chance, you got to put it away. And he was pretty much 1 in 2 in those situations. Incredible strike rate for a guy from non-league, without the experience, the coaching, the training, the nutrition, to have that natural ability, the finishing, and the raw pace. That was my favourite thing about Vardy. The raw speed of him. He was just, as what did Claudio say? Was it my Jets or something? They just go, and that was peak Vardy. He just used to be so quick.
Yeah. Tom, you're on mute, by the way, mate. No, I was going to say, Tom, I'm going to come to you, mate. I mean, when you are talking about, well, where do you put Vardy in this top 10? I mean, I guarantee whatever your top 10 is, none of them would have been as loyal to a club like Leicester for as long as Vardy was. Well, he was just always loyal. I mean, he never left until now, and you can't really call it disloyal now. He's just going at the end of his career, basically. But also, Tom, what I would say is the different styles of football that we played, Vardy adapted to that. Of course, when you looked at the profile of player Jamie Vardy was 10 years ago, with the pace and the running in behind, you would say, counter-attacking football suits him down to the ground. But as Leicester changed with Puel, although he struggled at times under Puel, but Brendan Rodgers, even Enzo Maresca, he adapted. He adapted to the way we were playing, and he continued to score goals. And some would say, under Brendan Rodgers in that first year, he was the best Jamie Vardy. Some would say, I'm not saying that, 15-16 for me is the best, but some would say 19-20 he was the best. He scored so many goals. He won the Golden Boot. I mean, he was just able to adapt.
But I think that sums up Vardy, doesn't it? From coming from non-league, a player that everyone thought was just raw pace, and as Michael Owen once said, "Oh, he's not that good. He just smashes the ball. He's not a great finisher." To go on to do what he's done, I mean, that says up Vardy nicely, because he evolved. He got better and better and better, and as the pace went, and it has gone, we all know Vardy's pace has dropped off over the last 2 to 3 years. He decided, well, I'm going to have to do what, like Enzo, I'm going to drop into the pocket more. I'm going to link the play up, and then I'm going to get to the edge of the area and make sure that if the ball falls somewhere, I'm going to be in and around it to score goals. I was just looking, the question about the top 10, who would be where. He's in the top 10 for me of all-time Premiership. There's some players in there still above him, but, if you look today, he scores today, he goes above Robin van Persie. Robin van Persie was a very good Premiership player, but the top 10, you got Jermaine Defoe, Robbie Fowler, Henry, Lampard, Aguero, Salah, Cole, Rooney, Kane, and Shearer. For me, I think Vardy's probably better than Defoe. He's better than Fowler. He's probably up there in the top 10 greatest ever Premier League goal scorers, and because of what he did in staying at Leicester. So, yeah, for me, he's definitely in the top 10, and the way he evolved over the year just shows it off. Because if you look at those players in there, they didn't change. Harry Kane might have changed a little bit over the last few years before he left Tottenham, but Andy Cole didn't change, Salah didn't change, Aguero never changed. They were all about pace, and that was it. Where Vardy got better and better because he adapted to what he needed to do to help the team out, and the way that teams were setting up in this new formation, going from a counter-attacking team to a possession-based team, to a team that played tiki-taki football under Enzo last season. He just worked with what the team were doing, and he listened to the managers, and he got better every time.
Kate, I mean, we always like to talk about style of play and things like that. Let's not get into that today. But as I said, Kate, he has been able to adapt to the different managers, and he got on with most of them. Of course, there was 1 or 2 that, he wasn't overly keen on, but he did get on board with. And like this season, for example, when Steve Cooper, when it came out that, the players weren't on board with him and stuff, a lot of people assumed Vardy would have been maybe one of the troublemakers, but we've heard he wasn't. He was fully on board. He got on board. And I think he's just matured as well as he's gotten older as well, like just trying to get on board with all the managers and their ideas.
Yeah, I think so. Enzo spoke about his shock at Vardy's openness and ability to learn at the age that he was at. He even admits himself it was a completely different style of play that he's ever experienced, what Enzo brought to the table. I think Vardy's an ultimate professional. I know on the pitch he can be an absolute scallywag, but I think he's an ultimate professional. I think he sets the standard in training behind the scenes as well. But I do think what comes with professional and then what comes with age is a reliance on you to speak up when you feel passionately about something in the right manner. And I think that Vardy does that, and he will always have Leicester at the heart of what he's talking about. And I think the only person who rivals that in the Premier League history is Alan Shearer. Alan Shearer could have easily gone to Manchester United. In fact, it was odds on, I think, at the time to go to Manchester United, which would have made them absolutely unbeatable. It's probably the best thing that happened that he didn't go there for the history of the Premier League. But Alan Shearer showed that loyalty to a club and that dedication going to Newcastle when everything else was on the table for him at that time as the best striker in England. And that's something that's such a rare breed. And Vardy chose us, and he even chose us when better things were on the table in the end of 2016 and end of 2017. So, yeah, he's the ultimate professional. He just does it in a slightly different way. And I think he has a lot more fun than your average professional footballer as well. He's not robotic. He has a character. He's not afraid to bring personality to the pitch. He's even said in that interview yesterday on the KP turf that he sees his away day banter as purely part of his job. It's never personal. It's part of his game, and it's absolutely what drives him as well. So he said that's part of football. If you can't make it entertaining, what's the point? And I think a lot of people need to take a leaf out of his book in that regard, because we watch it because it's entertaining, and these guys are entertainers. So maybe he'll inspire the next breed. Maybe Jeremy Monga can take it from him. Who knows?
I mean, Manny, let me ask you this, because I was at an event last night, and Matt Piper, who I know you're a big fan of, mate. I think we all love pipes. But he was talking about how, you know, Matt Piper was talking more about the youngsters, saying that, you know, he doesn't see a problem with the youngsters playing because they try. And, you know, as fans, if you see someone go out there and give their absolute all, you know, you're less likely to give them shit about maybe not scoring a goal or not performing or giving the ball away. And that's one thing with Jamie Vardy that, like, no one could ever doubt, is that every single time, as Kate said, every single time he crosses the white lines, he's on it. He's on it for 90 minutes or as long as he's on the pitch for, giving everything, whether that's, you know, putting in a nasty challenge on a defender trying to chase the ball down, or just trying to run onto every ball. He has been for 13 years constant for us.
Fans can handle players who don't have the ability that you would like. All fans really want is for you to give it absolutely everything you've got as soon as you cross the white line. And when you come off the pitch, we can see that you've given it absolutely every bit of energy, concentration that you can do. I can't think of a single minute, never mind a game, where I've ever thought Vardy's not bothered today, or, you know, he doesn't fancy it today, or he's not trying today, or he's not closing down today. There's never been a second, not 1 second I can think of on pitch. That's incredibly rare. Even, you know, other Leicester legends, I love Gary Lineker, I'm of that era, but Gary at sometimes was a bit bone idle. You know, sometimes he wasn't really chasing anyone down, wasn't running. He just waited on the edge. Vardy was the ultimate team player. It wasn't always about Vardy. It was just whatever the team needs me to do, I will do. 100% from the required intensity from second one to the very end. You even saw the last game against Forest. He's holding his hamstring at the end of the game. You can see he's struggling to run around. I know what it's like. I'm older than him. I know it's like to run at that age when you're really feeling it. But he's still giving it absolutely everything he can for the team to try and win to the very bitter end. It'll be exactly the same today. That was what we think should be like standard behaviour for every single professional footballer. Because we're human beings, is not standard behaviour. He's actually a very rare commodity. Someone who actually truly does give you every single ounce that he has every time he steps on the pitch.
I want to ask this now, and I'm sorry to just take the mood down ever so slightly. Kate, let me come to you first on this. So, Union FS. So they threw a bit of a hissy fit in the week because obviously put forward plans to the club about doing a Tifo and all of this, which we know they do, and they've done it so well for years, of course. The club said, no, thank you. It's all good. We're going to do it ourselves. We're paying, an external party to do it for us. What do you make to that? Do you think, yeah, fair enough? That, because I think one of the arguments I've seen online is that, Union FS have done, because look, you can think what you think about them as a group and their views and whatever, but I'm talking about purely just the Tifos and what they've done in the grounds over the years. I think one of the arguments online is, that they, where were the club for Shaky? Where were the club for Albrighton? Where were, all these times where Union FS have done it themselves and done it well? Where were the club for that? And now now they've rejected Union FS. What do you make to that? Or do you just not give a shit? Well, you can say that if you want. If you don't give a shit, you don't give a shit.
I totally understand it. I've seen mixed things, so I don't know which is right. I've seen that they were offered, but they declined. I've seen that the one that they wanted to erect the roof wasn't going to support it or something stupid. I've seen loads of stuff, so I'm not sure which one's correct. However, surely there's room for both. That would be my view. Surely there's room for both. If the club want to do one, fair enough. But if they also want to do one, fair enough. Because I think obviously the club's one will look really pro and crisp and everything else, but I think there's a certain something about the Albrighton one in particular that was just like someone's gone to that effort and taken time out of their working week to go to that extent to show pure dedication to make that for a player, to show their thanks and adoration for them. And I think that you can't ever knock that. I don't know why there's not room for both, really, would be my view.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, again, another argument is that, when Union FS do it, it's from the fans. It's the fan passion. It's fans that create it. And as Kate said, yeah, maybe the one the club do looks prettier and, it looks more professional, whatever. But, Union FS have been doing it for, been doing them for years. And they have done a good job with the limited resources that they do have, because they don't get funding from the club. It's all like crowdfunding, isn't it? So,
look, I like Union FS. I like what they're trying to do and all that. I think they don't help themselves with the mixed messages and the banners they keep pulling out and pointing towards the board of directors. I understand the frustration. We're all frustrated as fans of what's happened at the football club. And they probably don't help themselves by doing that every single week. And the club have gone, well, this is an opportunity to go out saying, nah, we run the club. Yes, you want to do your Tifo, but no, we're not having it this time. We're doing our own Tifo. I'd prefer to see the Union FF boys do it. I think they do a cracking job. The one against Seville was probably the best that I'd seen down there. And yeah, it would have been nice for Vardy to get the send-off by the fans. And I think it is about the fans giving it to Vardy today. It's not the club. The fans want to show their respect to. As someone just put in there correctly, Mr. Leicester City. I like that comment. I think that was brilliant from the Geordie Tune for Life. Yeah, I think it would have been nice for the fans to give the Vardy the send-off today with the Tifo that the UNICEF boys had done.
Can I just say really quickly, like when a little boy holds his sign up in the stand saying, Vardy, please can I have your shirt? Which do you think he's more likely to do? Is he more likely to sign it when it's a homemade piece of cardboard off the back of a Weetabix box? Or is he more likely to do it if it's a crisp Leicester City KP branded with all this crap on it with the sponsorship and it's all professional that he's got out of his seat? Which one do you think pulls at the heartstrings more and means more? Do you know what I mean? It's that authenticity, isn't it?
Of course it is.
Well, it was like the last game last season, Tom. We as fans, we had no idea if Vardy was going to be here. So Union FS did a Tifo for him, not knowing if it was going to be the last time we see him or not. Maybe the club knew. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe the club knew, that's why they didn't bother doing it. But I don't know. Let me come to you, Manny, because I know that you have your, you have your views on what Union FS do with regards to the banners and, board out and all this stuff. But what do you make to this situation? Because they are a bit pissed off. And I think I think it's fair enough that they're pissed off, personally, but that's just me. You might feel differently.
Well, I don't think you can rub people up the wrong way and then expect to have things your own way. I don't think the club are going to bend over to help them after some of the banners and the other things that have come out. I think that's just the nature of things. It's, if somebody criticises me heavily, I'm not going to go out of my way to help them. It's human nature again. But It's like fan channels. It's like BTG versus LCF TV. You know, there's an authenticity that fans can bring that the official organisation just doing it in a sort of corporate normal way. A corporate normal way feels a bit standard, and like Kate mentioned about that sort of fan sign, it's that home. It's like home cooking versus a restaurant. You know, they're both excellent. It's just, you know, which one do you prefer on this particular occasion? I actually think Vardy himself would probably prefer the Union FS one, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I think he would like that. And I think, again, this might be, I don't want to bring a negativity into today particularly, but there is a space for the club to communicate with the fans. I do think there needs to be an interface, a bridge between the club and the fans on matters like this. And we need to maybe, as a fan group, elect representatives to sort of represent them and say, you know, actually, we think the fans would like it this way, and we think Vardy would like it that way. Can we consider that? But to hate on their parade is one thing. Why can't we have both?
I mean, yeah, like imagine what Union FS, you know, could do maybe with a bit of help from the club. But I get what you're saying, that they do shit on the club, or they shit on the people running the club. But then in my eyes, that's them that's the club putting politics ahead of Vardy. In my eyes, that's them putting politics ahead of his big day. But what I will say, and I think we all agree, is the club, it better be fucking good. It better be good, because we know that, well, you know, Union FS, it looks amateur sometimes, but it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I'm not shitting on it. It looks absolutely class.
Like us.
Yeah, and it's like amateur. When I say amateur,
I would just say that, going off what Manny said there, like Union FS, and I'm not one way or another, I think sometimes it really has its uses, but sometimes there doesn't need, every single decision or debate doesn't need to be contentious and inflammatory and us versus them. Like, that approach sometimes really makes that gap wider. And similarly, those actions have consequences. I'm not saying it has had an impact in this decision as to why they can't use their own Tifo, but that's why you've just got to be mindful when you're a group like that wants to liaise with the club. You've got to be mindful of the communication you use, because actions have consequences and the club hold the power. So it's just like being at work and you don't like your boss. There's a way to go about it, because actions have consequences, and this could or couldn't be a consequence of how some of the signs have gone in due course. I'm not saying I'm for or against it, but I'm just saying, like Manny said, you can't always have it your own way. If you've dissed out some shit, you've got to take some back. So that it's just to be mindful of it, maybe in future, maybe.
Tell him that, Kate, on when he's posting on X all the time.
The other way, mate. The other way. Go the other way. You put it the wrong way. The wrong way.
I'm trying to point at you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, look. Anyway,
there's room for both in this situation. Like, there's plenty of room for both.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, so that's it on the Tifo. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it looks great. And there we go. But yeah, what I was going to say next was, obviously it's his last game, and I think Kate touched on it earlier, or Tom, somebody touched on it earlier, but I'll ask you, Tom. You know, if we win, we go above Ipswich, which of course is just a very, 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 very minor win, you know, for the season. We are still relegated, but it's worth a couple million quid. You know, it's I suppose maybe bragging rights for next season in our battle versus Ipswich. I mean, you know, it's one of these minor wins that I suppose we have to take this season if we beat them and go above them.
Well, look, was it £3 million more if we finish above them? We come up in the order that we came up last time, so we'll go down in the order they actually came up. And look, like I said, for me, when we were relegated to this, from now the pressure is off. It's all about building a bit of momentum going into the next season, getting some confidence back, because obviously the confidence level had been absolutely drained. And it's, for me, working on things to come. And today, you know, yes, it's all about Jamie, but I think, if we're honest, all these Leicester fans are sitting out, you know, what Mannyfield. But for me, I want to see the kids play today. I want to see Monga getting a start. I want to see Jake Evans getting more game time, you know, even if it's on the wing. I don't want to see Bobby Reid and Ayew up front or near the lineup today. Today is all about building for the future. And it'd be nice to see. We saw Monga at the week at Forest at the weekend. Came on. Manny at the weekend versus Forest. Monga versus
Forest. Than 15-year-old, mate. Sorry about that.
It is. But yeah, you know, Monga at the weekend at Forest, when he came on, I don't know what Kate felt, but the atmosphere rose in the away end. The excitement was there. You know, he was getting the ball, he was running at players, and Leicester fans weren't bothered if he made a mistake. There's the difference. Ayew makes a mistake, and the way him was going mental at him. Monga makes a mistake. The way fans just clapping like, go again, try again. No one's bothered. You're 15, but you show more than anyone else has done in this season. So, yeah, today for me, get some kids around Vardy. Get that 200th goal. That's the biggest thing for me. That 200th goal. Go out in style and lift us above Ipswich.
Sorry, Tom. I was saying this. You know, I'm a massive sports geek. Me, I love all kind of sports. In several sports, I can think of sort of changing of the guard moments. One particular one, someone my age remembers, is Pete Sampras playing Roger Federer at Wimbledon. I think it was a quarter final. It went 5 sets. You could see this was the end of the old Lion and the beginning of the new Lion, and they had their moment where it was absolute poetry. We've seen Djokovic against Alcaraz in recent years as well. Absolutely, it's stunning tennis. I would love to see Jeremy Monga creating a magic assist for JV to get that 200 today. That would be absolute poetry. The end of one career and the beginning of another. That would be just the right of... Look, I've got goosebumps just thinking about it now.
Mate, I completely agree. I mean, look, some of you know I worked for Leicester Tigers for 12 years as a groundsman. I saw Ben Young's first ever game at 16 coming off the bench and playing at Twickenham in a final. And now he's going to make, at the end of this year, his final appearance for Leicester Tigers. These kind of players, and he's stayed loyal to Tigers. Jamie's done the same. And like you say, if Monga could come on today or Jake Evans and they can be involved in setting a goal up, it would be a special moment for Vardy to finish on.
Since we're mentioning that, just another shout out to my old schoolmate who played for Tigers, England and the Lions, Harry Ellis, who also stayed with Leicester his whole career and still works in Leicester as well. Hazard does.
Hazard's a top bloke, mate.
Yeah, I know Hazard. Well, he gets a bit naughty sometimes, that boy. But we won't go into that today.
Kate, it's not often that I bring a comment up from the comment section and say that is the biggest load of bullshit I've ever seen, right? But this is the biggest load of bullshit I have ever seen. You can't play the kids today. If they bottle and lose 4-0, you'll blame RVN. No, we won't. We will not do that. You know, have you, John, have you not been watching this channel for the last 6 weeks? You know, I don't know about how you feel, Kate, but I feel so strongly against this because it's all we've been asking for. If he plays Monga, if he plays Jake Evans or a Luca or whoever it is, and we get battered, I don't think anyone will have anything to say because it's what we want to see. We want to see more for the future. And if that means getting beat, it means getting beat. But the season's done and dusted. Let's see the future along with Vardy sending off, and I think we'll be happy.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only way Rude can disrespect Vardy's big day is if he doesn't start Jamie Vardy. That would be the only way that could happen. But look, it's not like we've got a whole, I don't know, team's worth of kids to pick from, and that could easily be our next starting 11. We've got about 3 that I think we'd just like to see that have clearly come through the ranks, clearly are good enough to be included in the ranks. So let's just try them. You know, we've seen little bits of Jake and Jeremy, and fans just want to see more. And I get that Jeremy's in the midst of his GCSEs, so God knows what's going to happen with that today and what's due next week for him, bless him. But yeah, people just want to see what the future looks like. And there's been no like handover, has there? Like normally there's kind of a baton passing moment, like Manny's just talked about with the tennis there, like. But there doesn't seem to be that with us. It's kind of like, is the baton going to drop for a minute and then someone picks it back up? Like, there's that feeling of a loss of transition between the old and the new. And we don't want that to happen because we want some of these guys to have full-time football. Like, we've missed a trick, for me, not having Ben Nelson included this year. Why? Why did we loan him out? He was clearly ready and good enough. If we can get Harry Sousa in the back four, we can get him in the back four. Like, we've just missed a trick with some of these things. But yeah, the only way we can mess up the day is if Vardy doesn't play, and that's not going to happen, is it? So yeah, let's give the kids some more time, give the fans a bit something more to think about, and let's just make the grief a little bit less that there might be life after Jamie Vardy that looks all right.
And he's got to get substituted like 1 minute before the very end of it, right? Or 1 minute before the end of the game, like 93rd, 94th. Even if he's on one leg, if he's on 199, you cannot sub him, Rude. I don't care if he cannot move. You need to keep him on the pitch. We play with 10 men in case we get a penalty, and he just comes on, hobbles up, and tries to smack it. Do not sub that man.
Goal, though, Manny. If he's got his goal, I think he will come off 70, 80. If he's got it, I think he will.
I mean, Tom's point on there is it's not about the game today. It's about Vardy. The whole day is about Jamie Vardy. I couldn't care less about the result. If we lose, we lose. Jamie.
But I agree to that extent. But when you hear Vardy's interview, he's like, I'm not really thinking about today. His family call him emotionless, Jamie Vardy, and his main focus is actually on the 3 points today. Which, although it's only 3 million quid, that's someone's wages next year, which we'll be absolutely desperate for. So the 3 points.
Rude's payoff.
It might be Rude's payoff. Exactly that. We're not really in a position where we can say 3 million quid is like £5 found down the back of the sofa. We do need that money, and the result is important. But with the performances that we've had and the youngsters we've got available, that result seems more likely by including them, not excluding them.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, just in case anybody's wondering why I'm wearing a random shirt today for Vardy's final game, it's just, in my day, there's a player called Gabriel Batistuta who played for Fiorentina in Argentina. He was like my favourite 9 at the time. I absolutely adored him. But there's a new 9 that I prefer over Gabriel Batistuta, and he wore that shirt behind me.
That's the biggest rubbish excuse I've ever heard for wearing a Fiorentina shirt.
Oh, it's just because also I love Nintendo.
Yeah, it's a nice shirt. It's a nice shirt.
And his Leicester shirt's in the wash.
Yeah.
Which one?
Listen, Tom, let me ask you this, mate, because again, this is a topic that I like to. We will end on Vardy, everybody, but I want to ask this first. If we win today, Tom, is Rude going to stay? I know that's a bit of a loaded question, but every result we get, every positive result we get, I'm like, oh, he's going to stay. He's going to stay. He's going to stay.
I think the point Manny made earlier, that one, there should be more communication. The lines of communication from the club to the fans is absolutely drosh at the moment. That's something that really needs clearing up. There should be more to it. 2, sacking Ruud van Nistelrooy at the moment, is that going to kill us on the PS rules and all that, PSR rules? Are we going to get more penalised sacking 2 managers in the season, meaning they might have to leave it till after the 30th of June? But again, problem you get then is you're back in, that could be a case they are looking at, thinking, well, we have to sack 2 managers. That's going to breach the rules again going into next season. Leave it that late, hard into nothing. What managers are going to be laying around and available at that point when you've already lost, most of pre-season is going to be started by that point going into June, July. So look, the club need to make a decision and get back it and come out to the fans and tell Ruud as well, because Ruud doesn't seem to know what's going on. It'd be nice for the club to make a decision if they're going to stick or twist with Van Nistelrooy. If they are not committed to Ruud, then they just got to be honest and say, no, it's not going to work. The fans aren't with you, but I don't think the fans are with him from the chants that have been sang last week at Forest. And if that is the case, then move him on and take the hit if you've got to take a hit. But I don't see how Ruud van Nistelrooy, even if he wins a couple of games now this week in Bournemouth, if it'll turn it around, I don't see him being a championship manager. We all know it's the toughest league in the world, and you've got to have your nouns about it, trying to get out of it.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on this, Manny? Because, I mean, we heard yesterday that Will Still is available.
I saw that.
I actually thought...
Interesting.
Well, when I saw it initially, I thought, we got no... I mean, I didn't even think we had the chance. I didn't think he would come to us when Cooper was sacked. But I've read since that he is speaking to championship clubs, and I think maybe it goes, it's maybe more likely that he's not left. Is it Rems? Is that where he was?
I think he was at Lens. Was it Lens? Lens, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, he went to Lens. Yeah, he was at Rems. He went to Lens. He's not left at like the peak. He's not left at a peak. He's come back early. He's come to England early for personal reasons. I think he wants to be closer to his family and stuff. But so maybe, just maybe, the club might give it a go. Might try and convince him. I don't know.
I did find it very interesting timing. I saw I saw Daishi on the overlap the other day as well. All the managers are coming out, letting it be known, just in case you're looking for a manager this summer, by the way, I'm available.
Russell
You know, if
Martin as
anybody was
well.
paying attention. It's that season, isn't it? Where they're all just remind everybody, I'm here, hi, anybody want to give me a job? Very interesting though, Will Still. I think for lots of reasons, he's one you could take a very, very, very close look at, certainly an interview. But at the moment, Rude is still our manager, and I don't really want to disrespect Rude too much because although the results have been tough, no, he's conducted himself with class. Like no matter what, he has. Yeah, I think
since relegation, mate. Yeah, since relegation.
No, I don't mean on the pitch. I mean as a character. I mean he hasn't thrown his toys out the pram. He wasn't screaming about not getting any money. He wasn't kicking off. I mean dignity. You know, he's a nice guy. He's a decent human being. I don't dislike them, so I don't want to speak too ill of him. But I did tell you this. I said if we get 3 wins, I think I said with 6 games to go, if we win half these games, he'll be here next season. But I'm starting to waver too. The only problem is, if Rude got his team selections right, I wouldn't really have much of a problem with what he was trying to do.
That's
the problem is
part of his job, Manny. That is
a very good point you make. Right now.
In the right order, I'd really like him.
But the problem is, every manager we get, apart from Enzo, I didn't agree with the team selection. I just, I'd never do, even with Brendan sometimes.
Doing the same thing.
Yeah, I hear that. All I really want to find is, to be honest, if my hand on heart, is a manager that would just pick the same 11 that I would pick in the way that I would like it. But that's, I guess, like every other fan out there. But we'll still
send your CV in.
No, I'm not manager. No, I can't manage. No, but I can discuss.
The amount of noise that would come out of that dressing room if you were in charge, Manny, would be absolutely brilliant.
I think they would like it, but it's not for today.
I mean, let me ask you, Kate, because with Rude, like it feels he's getting plaudits for playing the youth, but again, I think he's only doing it because we've been relegated. Like I think a lot of what we're seeing now, a lot of the good things, are only because the games mean nothing. We're already down. That's my interpretation of it, and I keep saying the same thing. When it mattered, he and the squad, they stunk the gaff out. They stunk it out. So, I don't know. I just don't like the idea of, how do you go 147 days without scoring a home goal? How do you go 17 games, was it, without a win, or 16 games without a win? How do you do all of these things and still have a job the following season? How many managers, when they take a team down, stay in charge? Maybe Daniel Farker once or twice with Norwich. Also with Norwich, Dean Smith, and they haven't been back up since. By the way, when Norwich went down with Dean Smith, and then they kept him. So I don't know. I suppose, Kate, it depends on who the next manager is, right? It's maybe a bit harder to say. I want, if it was like, right, the options are Ruud van Nistelrooy or Will Still. I think a lot of fans would say Will Still. But because it's Ruud van Nistelrooy or anyone, it's a bit riskier for us to say, get rid of him.
But that's the same in every manager sacking situation. There's only a few where I can think we've got someone waiting in the wings. Ruud wasn't necessarily waiting in the wings when we got rid of Cooper. Cooper certainly wasn't waiting in the wings when Enzo walked. So you can't plan for things like that, where a large part of it is outside of your control. But yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. I'm not really sure how you can have any kind of conviction about a manager who has such a poor record. And I'm not ever under a cloud where I think that it was going to be easy for us this season. But like we've just alluded to, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again and the same shit keeps landing on your doorstep, I really struggle paying a manager a substantial amount of money who's supposed to have the nous and ability to make decisions, even if it offends some members of the squad, to make changes to try and force through a result and break the cycle that they've all been clearly told to say. Like, that's what I have a big issue with. And Ruud hasn't done that part of the job for me at all well. He keeps doing the same thing over and over. I'm not going to talk about insanity because it's an overused quote, but it's the same thing over and over. And we keep getting spanked. And it's just been absolutely exasperating to watch, to be honest. And it doesn't make any sense. Like, he doesn't even help himself out by trying to make changes to get the monkey off his back a bit. And it's been incredibly frustrating. And if you can't make crucial decisions at crucial times or think a change is needed as a manager, then you're probably in the wrong job, or definitely the wrong division or two. And you want somebody who will at least try and score a goal. I mean, it wasn't the losses for me, because the Premier League, the gap gets bigger and bigger. It was more the goal drought, which we have never experienced ever. That was just unexplainable to me, really, what happened there, and the ability to go forward and drive forward when you're in possession.
There's some questions, like Kate just said. I can almost handle the defeats and the losses and the lack of points. The things that bemuse me is that, can you recognise the best talents that you have in front of your face? Let me give you examples of that. He picked Danny Ward over Jakob. Like, how can you ever come to the conclusion that Danny Ward is a better keeper than Jakob? And you could say, I watched him in training. Then I don't know what Danny Ward is like in training. He must be Superman in training, because when he comes out on the match day, he's certainly not Superman, Banana Man more like. But but there's not just that. Vestergaard started like the first 8-10 games roughly under Ruud, and then he's not been seen since. So what made you think that he was worthy of the start for 8-10 games? And then what? You completely did a 180, and now he's not worth any game minutes at all. One of those decisions is wrong, right? You're not consistent. Mavididi, we couldn't score a goal. He's picking Ayew and Cordova-Reid, and Mavididi didn't start for 8 games in a row. When he comes back on the pitch, Mavididi, for the last 3-4 games before he got injured, looked one of our certainly 1 or 2 most threatening players. We've had Jerry Momonga at the moment that Locks maybe suspects that he's being asked, a little whisper in his ear, can you play this boy? We need to make sure he signs. My worry is that Ruud doesn't necessarily recognise the very best. Akoli is on the bench. He doesn't recognise the best talent that he has even in front of his face. I thought Woyo should have started against Anthony Elanga last week. Pace against pace. It's a mismatch. It's tough on Luke Thomas to face a tricky winger like Elanga. These are, to me, basic things. It's fairly obvious that Mavididi is better than Cordova-Reid or Ayew. It's very obvious that Jakob is better than Danny Ward. To me, it's been obvious that Akoli is better than most of our centre-backs. Akoli scores against Brighton, gets dropped.
Do you think he has the ability and capability to have full autonomy in his role?
Who's Ruud?
Yeah, because I don't. I think
because he doesn't have his own environment. He's got. I think he brought the goalkeeping coach. Yeah, you want to have that infrastructure around you where everybody is. You put them in place in an ideal world. So everybody, the director of football employed you, and then you picked everybody around you. Ruud's, he's got Steve Cooper's staff. He's got Andy King still there. He's brought one guy from Holland, and he's much like the team. It's a mishmash of staff, like it's been a mishmash of players from different eras. And altogether, the combination, the blend has not worked. And I think something I've been thinking about for a while is, I've been saying it for the last sort of couple of weeks, is the Premier League is all about best in class. And do I think, or even the Championship for us, should be about the best in class? And there's still question marks as to whether Ruud is the very best option out there to be the man to lead us forward.
Tom, let me bring this up, mate. Now, Reese is getting heated, I think. Calm down, Reese. But he says, because the players ain't good enough to play. But what I would say in response to this, Tom, Steve Cooper did better than Ruud van Nistelrooy, right? Ruud van Nistelrooy, for a large part of the season, made Steve Cooper look good. Which is why I'm like, you can blame the players for why Ruud's been relegated, why us under Ruud have been relegated. You can blame the players. But Steve Cooper got more of a tune out of them when it mattered. Of course, before relegation, Steve Cooper got more out of the players than Ruud van Nistelrooy.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was the comment I was looking at. And I was just sat here thinking, but then surely as a manager, you have to work with the players that you've got and play a system of formation and a style of football that works, not try and in a relegation fight, you have to go with what you've got, in my view, and you can't change too much. You have to try and adapt to the players you've got. Vestergaard obviously went missing walking his dog, I think, Manu, if you're looking for a point where Vestergaard's disappeared to. And Harry Winks fell out with Van Nistelrooy as well. You have to adapt. You've got players who have got an ability at a level. We are not got the players and the ability to pass out from the back. It's cost us too many times this season. So what is wrong with getting the ball forward quickly, moving it around the park when you've got the ball quicker than this slow dross?
Get it forward.
You just concede possession. That's why you lump it forward. You just give it back to them, and then just come on you again. You can't get out.
But we give them possession anyway by trying to play out from the back, because we lose the ball trying to play out because we haven't got the ability in the middle of the park to keep the ball at the
But there is a middle ground in between those two things.
Yes.
Yeah, of course there is, but for some reason we keep trying to do, as Kate said earlier, the same things over and over and over again. And if
that's a bit harsh, Tom. That's a bit harsh. That Brighton game, I'm just going to give you a few points just for the sake of debate. Okay, it's just for the sake of debate. The last half an hour against Brighton, he did bring on Ricky. We did change formation. We did look better. He did try 5 at the back for a period. He changed it from 4 and then changed it back. I mean, I think he has tried to change a few things. But I just think it's the team selection. But it's not as if Ruud hasn't experimented, and he's tried so many different centre-back pairings. He's tried a lot of different ways of doing it. Unfortunately, just hasn't found the right combination.
I think all 4 of us here would say, right, centre-back pairings in Leicester City, let's try pairing them together. Okay, quite quickly, within 5 games, you'd be able to say they're all pretty shit. So let's stop focusing on the centre-backs and let's focus on keeping the ball away from those centre-backs, because they are poor on the ball. They take way more risk than I'm comfortable with. Even Hermansen has started to do that stupid, dangerous passing football more and more frequently. Let's get it out wide and through the middle, right? And the results turned with Brighton because he actually put 2 legitimate wingers on the pitch. Guess what? You put wingers in wingers positions, you might get some width and you might get some balls in the box. That's, to me, bread and butter football. And if you're having to tell a Premier League manager that, who is probably rinsing us of 4 or 5 million quid a year, it's a real big red flag. And I really struggle with it. And I'm never passionate about sacking managers or anything else. I was never Cooper out and I was never Cooper in. But with Ruud, the basics of football in trying to score a goal, he doesn't have it.
I think go on, Tom.
So I was just going to say, I understand what Manu said about changing formations and players, but it all came back to the same kind of way we played. We got the ball, we'd go wide. And what is wrong with a winger attacking his man and getting the ball in the box? We get the ball on the wing and we pass it backwards.
Because he picks the winger that can't take his man on.
That's what we're saying.
That's the problem. He picks the wrong winger.
I'm saying
it's a selection.
What selection is
it? But when he had Jeremy Mongo on the pitch the other day, we looked all right, didn't we? Because he had the
JJ overlap as well with Monga.
Yeah,
which is brilliant. JJ looks brilliant in that.
I just don't understand why he doesn't recognise his own best options. Is kind of my overriding point. It's just so frustrating. Like Tom says, we were used to wingers taking on fullbacks. We just had a whole championship season full of both of them being dynamite and taking their man on. And this season, it's not just Ruud. Steve Cooper before him, he was picking Cordova, Reed and Ayew too. The whole season, one of our major strengths under Enzo were the wingers. And this season, we barely see them. Obviously, we were lucky with Abdul getting injured, but we've not seen the best of Mavididi. And I don't think it's all Mavididi's fault either. I think he has been underutilised, underappreciated, actually managed badly by both managers. These are the question marks that we will have. Well, I know, because you hate him, but... You kept very quiet when he came back onto the team. He's been good the last 3-4 games.
No. I was going to say, if you've got a player who has apparently been mismanaged by 2 different managers, at one point is the player the problem? I mean, we say it about Yannick. We say Yannick.
Not well.
That's what I'm saying.
Sorry.
I think. Yeah, go on, Tom. I think you're going to say.
I'm just going to say, you say about Mavididi and mismanaged. I mean, let's go back to pre-season. Cooper was playing as a striker. I mean, he's put him in as a striker because Vardy obviously got that injury at the beginning of the season. We're not sure if he's going to be fit or not. And he obviously did get fit for the Tottenham game. But this is what we talk about, players not playing in their natural positions. This is where the problem, this is where you need a manager for me. And this is why it worries me in Ruud van Nistelrooy. Yes, we've seen it the last few games. He's started to pick the players in the right areas. But when we were on that losing run and it's chopping and changing defences, it's a 4, it's a 5.
All right, let's cut it down to brass taxes. You guys, Rude. Let's say if we won every game and the last 2 games of the season, would you have Rude? Yes or no, next season?
Nope.
No.
No.
Because when it mattered, he stunk it out. That's what I keep saying. I'm just going to bring this comment up just to finish the chat on Rude. Let me find it. Where is it? Isn't Rude statistically the worst Premier League manager we've ever had by a country mile, and one of the worst ever in the league's history? Yes, he is. And also, as I said earlier, 147 days without a home goal, 17 or 16 games without a win. The only thing in my mind that makes sense for why he has a job next season is because they can't afford to pay him out. That's the only reason why he should remain in charge. And
my overriding thought with Rude is he plays a Dutch style of football that suits the continent. It doesn't suit the Premier League. It might be okay in the Championship, but when he gets back to the Premier League, this technical, precise game that he wants to play, this is what they do in Holland. This is not really what we do over here, and we don't. And that game doesn't necessarily work here either. So I wouldn't go forward with Rude.
Right, to finish it off, everybody in the chat take part in this. Score prediction for the Ipswich game. Will Vardy get that goal? Manny, what are you saying, mate?
Absolutely, 1000% yes. Cock on block, yes.
Score prediction, come on.
3-0.
3-0.
Us.
Is Vardy getting 1, 2, 3?
Vardy's going to get the first, and then it's just going to be a love fest all day. The fans are going to be loving it. And Monga to get his... Not just that, I like the symmetry. Vardy to get his last, Monga to get his first. So both of those two. Monga gets the last, Vardy gets the first.
Go on, Tom, what are you saying, mate? Score prediction and whether Vards will score.
I was going to pick the 2-1 Leicester, and Vard to get the same as manager said, Vard and Monga. It'd be the fitting way to end Vardy's career at Leicester, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Kate, what are you going with? This way you say 2-0 loss, yeah?
I'll be 2-1 Leicester and Vardy to get both.
Oh, 201. Like darts. 201.
I don't know where that will put him in the thingy, the Premier League all-time score if he gets 2.
Just, I say, if Premier League clubs out there, just help Vardy get above Michael Owen, please. That's what the Leicester fans really, really want. I think Vardy's like, look, I'm not retiring until I get above that idiot, right? Just get me above him.
I was going to say, if he scores today, he'll go up to 146. He'll be level on 13th with Teddy Sheringham.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. What a lovely name that is.
But am I right in saying that? Am I right in saying that if he scores 7 goals, he overtakes Michael Owen?
7 to overtake. Yeah, he needs.
He scored 8. He scored 8 this year. He got 8 in one more season. Someone do us a favour.
No.
I will sacrifice seeing him in any Premier League shirt if it means breaking Michael Owen's record. I would love that. You can Kevin Keegan moment. I would love it if we do that. Love it.
Forest? Would you? What if we did it at Forest?
I don't care. No, fine. Do you know what? The Forest have had their choke. It's all funny. Europa League qualifying round. Conference League qualifying round. Here we come. Nice away trip. Nice away trip to Siberia.
I'm going to be overly positive, and I'm going to say 3-0 Leicester, a hat trick for Vardy.
Yeah.
Game. That would be imagine. Yeah. And that would actually put him above Teddy Sheringham, so on 147. So
and one behind the great Sir Les Ferdinand, who played for
Leicester. There's a player. There was a player.
Yeah,
big Les. Okay. Another Leicester legend as well. Scored a lot of goals for us that season.
Class.
There we go.
Knox doesn't know, but that season we got relegated. It was not Les Ferdinand's fault. I can tell you, he was about 100 years old. He was absolutely amazing. The best.
He was younger than Vardy.
the best hang time and header of the ball I can remember. He just used to stay in the air like Air Jordan.
Had nothing to do with La Manga and anything that happened over there, of course.
Right, let's have a look at
his
what
third
people
leg.
are saying in the chat. Oh, Manny.
What did you say?
His third leg.
Jump high when you're a tripod.
Whatever helps. All for the cause.
He's got that in common with Vardy as well, then, not just the old age. Right. Rene says 2-1 Vardy. Brace Farnsey says 3-2. LCFC Gray 3-1 Foxes Vardy goal. Greg saying the same, or 2-1 with Vardy goal. Andrea's the same. Vardy will get his 200th for sure. Kunal says 3-0. David says 1-0. Gerald says 3-0. Same from Pele 10. Rob reckons a 1-1. Hopefully he's got Vardy to score there. Forest will bottle it. I think they already have. And Derek says, I can't see Ipswich winning. Too many distractions.
I can see Ipswich winning, he said.
Oh, I can see. Yeah. Too many distractions for us at Leicester. So Cedric says 1-0. Vardy will score in the last minute. There we go. Okay. Right. That's the end of the show. We will be back live from 2:45, 2:45, and we will be here all the way through Vardy's last game. Hopefully, we're celebrating his 200th goal.
Wish everyone a happy Vardy day today.
Happy Vardy Day, yeah, absolutely. That's
we should make this day. What's the date? 18th of May. That we should make this Leicester City Vardy Day.
The day he signed, the day he left.
There we go.
It makes sense.
That's a good idea. Vardy Day. Hey, every year we celebrate Jamie Vardy on this day.
100%.
You like that idea, don't you?
There we go. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to Manny. Thanks to Kate. Thanks to Tom. Much appreciated. Like I said, we'll be back at 2:45 to go through the game. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.